In the beginning of the month, we witnessed one of the biggest standards go live on the XRP ledger, which was, of course, the multi-purpose token standard. Now, we talked about this in response to Kenny's post, which is an engineer at Ripple. He made a post regarding this standard, exactly why it's very important. The main thing about this is it's, again, another crucial piece for institutional DeFi and just institutions in general, based around tokenized assets. Now, one thing that we have been watching, especially when it goes back to all of these amendments and these standards around the XRP ledger, we have been watching as all these puzzle pieces come together. And it's happening at a crucial time around the entire crypto space. Because again, it's a perfect moment for the XRP ledger to adopt all of these new amendments that are all pertaining to institutional adoption at a time where institutional adoption is heating up around crypto with the growing acceptance from the government, with major agencies like the SEC and even the CFTC clearing the way for institutions to tap into crypto. So I couldn't think of a more perfect time for the XRP ledger to get these major upgrades than now. On top of that, we just witnessed another big post from Ripple X Dev, and this goes back to the second, which was regarding privacy. And it's a quote actually that says, "Without privacy, financial institutions cannot safely use public ledgers. Without accountability, regulators cannot sign off. With programmable privacy, we can have both." Now, this is from a cryptographer and Ripple X Senior Director of Engineering. I'm not going to try to pronounce their name because I'm just going to butcher it, but if you guys do want to go check them out, this is their @ over on X. Now, within this, we do get a big update on exactly what is crucial for these institutional players to tap into any specific network. We have privacy, scale, and the future of blockchain finance. Now, within this, we do have, as blockchain enters its next chapter, one defined by institutional adoption and real-world impact, the question is no longer if financial systems will move on chain, but how. Sorry to interrupt the video, but gold just made a new all-time high yesterday. And if you want to catch the waves in both the precious metals market as well as the crypto market, ITrustCapital is your best friend. They offer both crypto and gold and silver trading, but that's not it. If you also want to tap into the IRA side of ITrustCapital to make sure that you are including both crypto and precious metals in your portfolio, you could do that. And also, premium custody accounts include both as well. So if you want to go and tap into this, you guys are more than welcome to in the description down below, as well as in the comments down below, utilizing my link where you deposit $1,000 and you get a free exclusive $100 funding bonus right now. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today. And with that being said, let's dive on back into the video. Institutions need infrastructure that is scalable, compliant, and trustworthy without losing sight of the decentralization and neutrality that make public blockchains valuable in the first place. At the heart of this transformation lies a paradox. Finance cannot function without confidentiality, yet blockchains are built on transparency. The challenge, and indeed the opportunity, is to design systems that reconcile these two truths. Why privacy must be native to blockchain finance. There is a misconception that privacy in blockchain is synonymous with secrecy for bad actors. In reality, privacy is about giving honest participants control over what is revealed to whom and under what circumstances. In traditional finance, nobody would dare log into their bank without the security of HTTPS. On blockchains, many still transact without the same baseline protections. Today, privacy often depends on intermediaries like exchanges to break the link between a user's wallet and their identity. If those intermediaries are hacked, privacy collapses. Cryptography gives us a better way. Programmable privacy through techniques like zero-knowledge proofs, ZKPs, lets institutions transact confidentially while still meeting regulatory requirements through selective disclosure. This balance is essential. Without privacy, financial institutions cannot safely use public ledgers for core workflows. Without accountability, regulators cannot sign off. With programmable privacy, we can have both. And yeah, I mean, listen, when we think about what's happening, especially when it comes back to this entire space and the adoption cycle of institutional players tapping in, one growing narrative this year has been, public blockchains outpacing private blockchains, because it is happening. We heard about it from Franklin Templeton, and everyone has been blowing the whole, oh, look at Swift is collaborating with Ethereum thing out of proportion. Again, when it comes to Swift, they are still a private-based network, essentially. And what I mean by that is it's a centralized system, essentially. They can close that system off to any participant, like, for an example, sanctions with Russia. And that's where a lot of the concern comes from, any successful initiative that Swift is going to have with blockchain. Is it going to be successful? We have no idea. Because again, nations are losing trust in the Swift-based system. So we look at what's happening here, and it feels as though public ledgers, public networks are the core focus here, if they have these things built within them. And again, the XRP ledger is having these things added to it to make sure that it is a 100% confident network of choice for these institutional players. Now we have scaling without sacrificing trust. Blockchain has long wrestled with the trilemma: scale, security, decentralization. Pick two. Many fast chains achieved through throughput by cutting corners on trust. The result: hacks, forks, and centralization. We can and must do better. ZKPs and confidential computing point the way. Fair ordering. Trusted execution environments can enforce tamper-proof transaction ordering amongst validators, mitigating front-running and MEV attacks. That restores confidence to markets. Confidential computation, which basically is just verifying things, but again, the main thing that we're looking at here is having things run privately off-chain while still producing verifiable outputs on-chain. Then we also have selective disclosure. ZKPs let institutions prove adherence to compliance requirements, e.g. KYC and AML, without revealing sensitive transaction data. And then cross-chain bridge security. ZK Lite clients can help validate events that take place on one blockchain for another without relying on centralized parties. Scalability is not just about more transactions per second, it's about scaling without breaking trust. And that's the difference here, right? Like when it comes to, DeFi, specifically regulated DeFi for these big institutional players, we need to have all of these key pieces on the XRP ledger. So we look at why Ripple, why now? My decision to join Ripple was shaped by three factors that together create a rare opportunity in blockchain: the technology, the people, and the moment we are in. First, the technology. The XRP ledger has more than a decade of secure operation behind it and was designed from day one with finance in mind. Features like the built-in decentralized exchange, escrow, payment channels, and now multi-purpose tokens show just how much institutional utility is already embedded at the protocol layer. It's an ecosystem that has scaled quietly and reliably without compromising on security. Second, the people. Ripple X is home to some of the best engineers I've met in the field, together with Ripple leaders I've admired long before joining the team. Working alongside them to shape the next generation of blockchain infrastructure is as energizing as it is inspiring. And then finally, the opportunity. Institutional DeFi is still in its early innings. With many trillions of dollars in assets set to move on chain over the coming decade, the XRP ledger, with its neutrality and financial focus, is uniquely positioned to bridge that shift. This isn't just about bringing institutions into the ecosystem. It's about reshaping how finance itself works, embedding compliance at the protocol level, enabling privacy, respecting workflows, and unlocking efficiencies that legacy intermediary-heavy systems could never deliver. So the road ahead. Over the next 12 months, I'm focused on helping making the XRP ledger the first choice for institutions seeking innovation and trust. Zero knowledge proofs will play a central role, enabling private, compliant transactions while improving scalability. In 2026, confidential MPTs will bring privacy-preserving tokenized collateral to market, an essential step for institutional adoption of tokenized RWAs and DeFi. My philosophy is simple. The future of blockchains belongs to builders who remove unnecessary trust. If we could prove correctness, prevent misuse, and give users confidence that their assets and data are safe, then blockchain tech won't just scale, it will transform finance. This is why we focus on these key pieces. And you know what's crazy about this? Check this post out from vet_x0. Innovation lead at Deutsche Bank on public chains. You build the privacy and permissions on top of public networks. What immediately comes to my mind revisiting this when thinking about the awesome XRP ledger: permission domain and DEX, privacy, zero knowledge proof, etc. Not all innovation, folks, are made equal, as you can see. And again, going off of this post that we just read and what's coming up in 2026, even around the XRP ledger, we listen to what these big banks are telling us. Listen to this.
I think in the public side, right, in public chain side, there's a lot of innovation, a lot of dynamics that's happening there. I mean, to use an analogy, Today everybody uses internet for internet banking, internet financial services and things. Nobody has got their own proprietary internet, walled internet to say, okay, this is my private internet that you can only use with my internet banking facilities. No, everybody uses the public internet, and then you build the permission, you build the security on top of the public internet in order to carry out what you want to deliver to your client. From a client's perspective, right, I only need to understand the public internet and then your application. I don't need to be onboarded 3 times into 3 different proprietary internets.
And yeah, this is exactly what every single major institutional player and major bank wants. When we think about every single bank around this space, or even outside of this space that has yet to touch crypto, every single one of them has said the same exact thing. Majority of the institutional players that are already working in the tokenization space, like for example Franklin Templeton, have also told us that public blockchains are the way to go. BlackRock even said this. When we think about all of these big banks, they're also on board of the public network boom. The main thing that they want to see, though, is all of these key pieces in place before they adopt these networks. And guess what? There's only one network in the space that's adding these types of pieces to it to ensure that these institutional players tap in, and that's the XRP ledger. This amount of work that's going into the XRP ledger, especially going over like the last, I would argue it's been about 24 months since we started to see a lot of these amendments, getting voted on and approved around the XRP ledger. So over the last 24 months, they have been building up to this specific moment where institutional DeFi becomes a big deal on the XRP ledger. And what's crazy about this is we go over here to the institutional DeFi portal. This is in development right now from Ripple, a platform to help financial institutions bring their businesses on chain, powered by both the XRP ledger and XRP. They are already preparing this, and they're preparing the XRP ledger for major institutional adoption. Discover blockchain use cases that deliver value to your businesses. I recently just talked about this. If you really wanted to know how bullish Ripple is on XRP and the XRPL, all you have to do is take a quick look at this. And then also, if you look at some of their solutions like the custody platform, right? Tokenization, XRP being tapped in. Even most of the recent announcements, like for example, the one with Securitize, that included the XRP ledger and XRP. So if we're thinking about all of these things getting added to the XRP ledger, almost all of these pieces are to ensure that the XRP ledger gets mass institutional grade adoption. And then also institutional DeFi is going to become a reality on the XRP ledger. Remember, this got posted on the 22nd by Ripple XDev. When we think about all of these key pieces, we are going to see increased adoption of the XRP ledger from, stablecoins, RWAs, lending, compliance tooling, all of that stuff. And this is to ensure that the XRP ledger dominates in the internet of value, the new financial system, essentially. This is so important to focus on if you hold XRP, because I understand that we get caught up in the short term, but the long-term view here is trillions and trillions of dollars, not just moving on chain, but being transacted on chain 24/7, 365, lending, borrowing, things like that, liquidity pools from institutional names. All of this stuff is going to become a reality long term, and that's what's going to allow the XRP ledger and even XRP itself to become extremely valuable. And I'm not just talking about in price action. I'm talking about the value added to the network. We constantly hear people talking about network effects. What about institutional scale leading to institutional network effects? We don't know what that will look like, because again, Bitcoin didn't even experience this. But it looks as though the XRP ledger is going to experience this, and it's inevitable. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this is Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.